If you want a book that is going to make you feel things for the characters and make you care about what happens to them, this is not the book. Hi, Bookish Baddies. Welcome back to Bookish Chaos. I'm Shay, and today we are doing a rant review. We are talking about this fucking... We are talking about this fucking book. Yeah. The Cursed. The Cursed by Harper L. Woods. I would just like to let you know that this is a spoilery review. I'm going through the book and critiquing it, criticizing it, complaining the entire time. I'm here to complain. So if you don't want spoilers because you enjoyed the first book, then I wouldn't listen to this. But also, this video is not for the author. It is not for friends of the author. It is honestly probably not for people who enjoyed this book. I did not enjoy this book. I enjoyed parts of this book that were entertaining to me. But overall, the writing is terrible. It's terrible. The plot points make almost no sense. Plot twists? Who? I say the word plot twist in about 10 minutes, but not actually because it's a plot twist. This book is terrible. I enjoyed the magic in this book better than the first book. The first book, you get almost no magic. You get almost nothing. It's just her and Gray falling in love while she tries not to fall in love with him, while he acts stupid possessive over her in like a bad way. We did a rant review. I did... What is my hair doing? I did a rant review on The Coven by Harper L. Woods at the beginning of my channel, basically. And I did not want to do the second book, but rant reviews get a lot more attention. So here we are, reading The Cursed. It took me weeks. It took me weeks to get through this fucking book. But here we are. So, quick overview that I did not put in my notes. The Coven is basically, you meet Willow. Her mom dies. She tries to get her brother out because she knows that the witches of Crystal Hollow are going to be coming for her because she's like from in this world, the witches are supposed to go at like the age of 16 or something like that to Crystal Hollow to study to be a witch. And she did not. Her mom kept her away from that. Her mom kept her safe, basically. And it's not just like witches that come for her. It's vessels, which are basically demons trapped inside of a body that they can't access their full power. So they're kind of like vampires at the time. And a lot of stuff happens. A lot of stuff happens. Nothing happens in this fucking book. But she does start a relationship with the principal, essentially, of this school, Gray, who is a vessel. And he is Lucifer the Morningstar in a vessel's body. And then they use her to open the seal to let out demons. And Lucifer is able to enter his original body. She like passes out because of blood loss. And then she wakes up and he's like, hello, wife. And it's like, bam, he's Lucifer, the Morningstar in Lucifer's body. And you're married now. So we start and Willow is like, the Covenant is destroyed. Oh yes, she killed the 2 bags of bones that were the Covenant. So now she is the Covenant as a still very untrained witch. But she starts and she's like, the Covenant is destroyed. I have no purpose, but I do need to protect the Coven from my husband. So Lucifer sits up. He says, hello, wife. And so the last time that he talked to any of his archdemons, he was not pleasant about her. And the plan was always to kill her. And then he fell in love with her. Not everybody got the memo. And Beelzebub walks in and is just like, snaps her neck. She's dead. She dies briefly. And so she comes back to life and she's like, I died. And Lucifer is like, briefly. Because he brings her back to life with his blood. So she's all, I'm pissed off because Beelzebub just killed me. And he's like, yeah. She's also pissed because she's like, and we're married? You married me without my permission. How is that possible? And he's like, you have to stay here in my office room. Oh, the dogs are barking. That means my husband's walking in the house. But he's like, okay, so Gray's like, you cannot leave this room. It is too dangerous. Also, we need to eventually release all the vessels because he's the only demon that was stuck in a vessel body that got released. She just released demons from hell. And then Lucifer's body was able to be brought out and then they were able to transfer his vessel into him. Kind of like on the Vampire Diaries when Klaus is in another body and then they put him back in his Klaus body. Same thing. So she is like, I want to leave. And he's like, everyone is going to try to murder you, so I will take you on a walk. That way I can protect you. And while they're on a walk, one of the cursed comes out of the woods or whatever. It's very, this whole the cursed thing. I'm assuming that this book was supposed to be about. That was my dogs. I'm assuming that the cursed was supposed to be about the cursed, which are essentially kind of like werewolves that live in the forest that were cursed by one of her ancestors. I think it was Charlotte. But we only really meet one of them and then 11 at the end of the book. But that's not, it's not about them. It's very like, not the Wolven in From Blood and Ash by JLA, but the other creatures that live in the forest. It's very those creatures coded, you know? Anyway, so while they're out there, one of the cursed creatures comes out of the forest, and I also wrote on here, think the burned people from Link's The Fate saga, that one about fairies with that really hot redhead in it. So she turns him back into a human. She touches this cursed, because Gray's like, don't do that. And she's like, it's fine. Everything's fine. So she touches the cursed creature, and he turns back into a human for a minute. And she's like, I can sense that it's not time for you to be free of your punishment. So how about I do this instead? And she turns him into a cat. His name is Jonathan. He's adorable. He's a little black cat. We love Jonathan. Only person in this whole entire book that I actually care about. So she has unimportant encounters with people, and then they go back to the place where the Covenant used to be, and Abon's uncle is there, whatever in the hell his name is. He's also the one who assaulted Margot. I don't know if I said anything about that in the last thing. Anyway, so he's like, who the fuck do you think you are, killing the Covenant? Okay, she was not the Covenant yet. I forgot about that. So, Abon's uncle, senior, whatever the fuck, is like, who the fuck do you think you are, taking out the Coven? And she's like, who the fuck do you think you are? I'll show you who I am. And she like rearranges the bones and rearranges the Hecate bones and rearranges the plant one and combines them into one super great chair. I did like that magic. That magic was actually good. And then she's like, you are a disgusting human being. Would you like to tell everybody what you do? And he's like, what do you mean? And she's like, I don't know, maybe assaulting people. And she's like, I'm not going to say anything. And then Margot steps forward and Margot's like, I want you to tell everybody in this room what you did. And he's like, what do you mean what I did? And she's like, what you did to me. And she gets her revenge, and then he's dead, and it's fabulous, and that's the only thing that anybody should care about. And we have a whole bunch more boring interactions with people that don't matter. Daily life continues, but literally none of it matters. Abon comes to her, and he's like, oh, by the way, I have access to this secret room that the Covenant gave me access to, because they wanted me to read these books, and just figure out how to do stuff. Also, how about that air thing? Because, so in this world, men witches give up their magic so that they can father children with the female witches to try to create like better witch lines or whatever. But so they allowed him into this room because he could learn from these books, but he doesn't have any magic. So he's not a risk letting him into this room. This is also where we find out that Abon was promised Willow without consulting her, without her consent, without anything. They were just like, here, Abon, you can have Willow. The Covenant promised her to him to be his baby factory without saying anything to her, without asking, without no consent. So we learn that there is a blade that you can murder Lucifer with and all of the rest of the demons and send them back to hell. And she's like, ooh, let's do that. And Abon's like, so you're gonna have to do this. And she's like, I cannot be the one to murder Gray. And he's like, well, it's gotta be you. They're not gonna let anybody else close enough to them. You are the only one close enough to this situation. And he's like, if you murder your husband, then you and I can be together and we can have very powerful babies. And I wrote, in my notes, I wrote, he does really scummy things and gets in her bubble. He's like trying to manipulate her. He's a piece of shit. And I knew it from book 1, just his attitude, that he was a piece of shit. And look, here he is proving me right in book 2. So he gets in her bubble even more. He's like, and he kisses her. And she's like, maybe Gray is just manipulating me because he's Lucifer, and maybe I will feel something for him. And I said, you fucking won't, you dumb bitch. So she's like, oh my god, I don't want this. I don't like this. This is bad. So she runs away from Abon. And then Gray appears out of the darkness. And they're at like the top of some stairs. And Gray is like, you kissed my wife without her consent. Fuck you. Abon is like, I kissed her and she ran away because she can't handle the feelings that I gave her. And he's like, she ran away because you suck. Gray goes to go after her and Abon's like, you're gonna get her killed, you piece of shit. And my notes say, and I'm like, oh, so now you're threatening Lucifer, the Morning Star? That's a good idea. But he didn't necessarily threaten him directly, but he did threaten a person that he loves. And then in my notes, I put, Gray, he is now Inigo Montoya. You kill his father. It's time to die.
Hello. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
But, like, seriously, though, because Gray pushes him over the banister to his death. I wrote, I'm hoping it's his death because that would be fabulous. And then I was like, this is not where I expected it to go. I expected Abon to be all salty and try to harm her. And I kind of hope he's dead now. And then I was like, well, she saved him. So my dreams are shattered because she, like, hears him fall and then, like, saves his life. And then she's mad at Gray for it, even though Abon just assaulted you without your permission, kissed you, touched you, tried to proposition you to kill your husband, and then have babies with him because you were promised to him and that's the way things should go. And you saved him? Whatever. Abon's like, hey, secret knife we can kill him with, and she agrees. So all of the witches that are required to, like, bless this knife get together and they bless the knife. And then she takes it. Later that night, they're in Gray's apartment and she climbs on his lap and she's, like, seducing him. And then she stabs him. Which I kind of like. I kind of like that. And he starts bleeding out and she starts crying. And she's like, oh my god, he's gonna die. I'm so sorry, but I had to. I just had to do it. Plot twist, he doesn't die. He's like, the only way to kill me, now that I brought you back to life, I also linked our lives. So the only way to kill me is to kill you. Maybe you shouldn't tell your friends that, because I don't think that they'll be your friends after that. So he's like, here, stab yourself, and I'll die if you really want me dead. And she's like, I don't want you dead. And then they bone, and it's fucking stupid. So they're boning, and we get some anal play, which I love in my sex in my books. Like, sex is not just P&V. It's just not. The nice thing about this channel not being monetized because I don't have enough subscribers yet is that I can talk about this and I don't have to bleep anything out. Sex is multifaceted. There are lots of aspects to it. There is foreplay that needs to be involved. There is various different kinds of sex. Sex is not just P&V. It is not just man, woman, smash. I like when realistically other things get added into a book because that's how sex is in real life. Okay. Sex rant over. So, afterwards, when they're done boning and he's fully healed, he takes her to the coven room and he's like, you're going to summon the coven. So when the coven gets there, he's like, hey, your murder attempt failed, bitches. Also, Abon knew that you would die trying to do this because if I didn't die, I would kill you. So that's good. He is very concerned that Abon will put the pieces together and realize that in order to kill Gray, you have to kill her. And that's something he doesn't want. Anyway, all the coven watches the gold light shine through her hands, healing her from the cuts on her body. He gives the coven a speech about what they sent her to do. The purple witch that was there to bless the knife starts talking shit. Juliet comes to grab Della and Nova, her friends, and pulls them out of the room to safety because Gray's gonna just murder everybody. Abon starts talking shit and is like, well, vessels can't give children. And Lucifer is like, I am no vessel. I am Lucifer, the motherfucking Morning Star, bitch. He tells Abon to name the conspirators because she doesn't know their names, honestly. And he takes Abon into another room and they hold him underwater and they waterboard him and they torture him. And Abon says, are you going to kill Della and Nova? And Gray says, no, they did what Willow wanted. And they burn him. And Gray says, I can feel their magic. Even if you won't give me names, I wanted you to know that you put yourself before all of them. She is like, Gray leaves the torture room and goes back out where all the rest of the coven is. And he is like, you need to leave. And she's like, I'm not going to leave. I'm going to bear witness to what happened. So he calls all of the conspirators forward. And this is where people realize, oh shit, Della and Nova aren't here. And he's like, they're her friends. You all suck. And he pulls their magic from them and puts it in Willow. And it like comes out of their mouths. And I love that. So she leaves and she's actually having a dream. We realize this in a minute. But we see her go enter into their room, and she accidentally kicks Jonathan, but he doesn't hiss. And then she realizes something's weird. If I was going to kick him, he was going to hiss at me. So she reaches down to touch Jonathan, and her hand goes right through him, and then she hears a voice from behind her, and she turns around, and it's motherfucking Archangel motherfucking Michael standing there, and he's like, guess what? I want you to kill my brother. Oh, I wrote, what the fuck does he want? And I said to kill his brother, probs. Turns out it's a dream, and it's an illusion world, and he's like, you can't release his children. And all of you need to burn in the pits of hell. She, like, jokingly flirts with him, and he, like, backs away, and she talks shit about Sky Daddy in a way that I appreciate, and she says, tell your father. I said, fuck you, messenger boy. And she shoves him out the door, and she wakes up, and Gray is sleeping fitfully, like he could sense that Michael was around. The next morning, Gray walks in and brings her breakfast in bed, and she gets all horny while he's eating, and he's like, I don't need to eat, but I can, because she's like, how are you eating right now? They're talking about stuff, and he's like, oh, by the way, I'm not a vessel anymore, so I could produce children, in case you were wondering. And she's like, why did you not tell me this before we boned? And he's like, you're taking your monthly tonic. It's fine. She was like, were you going to force me to have your child by not telling me? And he's like, no, bitch. And then he feeds her. It's a scary thing for her, though, finding out that he can produce children. She thought he was hiding it, but she thought that, so in her brain, she thinks that him hiding it is like the coven wanting her for breeding stock, but that's not the case. Her and Gray go their separate ways, and she thinks about her family, and she walks through the gardens, and she feeds the gardens, and she feels happy, and she gives it life, and she thinks about her convo with Michael, the dickhead archangel, and she dips into her necromancy magic and thinks about how different it feels now. But she doesn't realize that she's also touching the source, which is where Sky Daddy, which is where Lucifer, which is where Michael get all their power from. It comes from the source. And 11 cursed come out of the trees, and she's like, oh, fuck. And the closest one watches her, but it doesn't attack, because that's the thing. They usually attack you. And she touches the one closest to her, and she feels the magic coursing through him, and she turns him into a hedge. And then they all turn into a hedge. And then there's 3 entrances to this hedge, and it formed a Hecate wheel. Oh my, I wrote, it formed them into a Hecate wheel. Oh my god. Gray and Leviathan are in his office, and he tells Levs that he can feel that she's touching the source, and Lev is like, should we stop him? And he's like, no, it'll bite her back if she goes too far. While she's in the Hecate while she's in the Hecate hedge, the maze, Hecate maze made of a hedge, that's where we're going with that. Hecate appears to her as her great-great-grandmother, Charlotte, and Charlotte is like, your children are going to be the key to setting everything right. Charlotte tells her that they all need to have access to the source to take on God and the angels, because God fucked up and betrayed the source by betraying the creation that he created. And then Charlotte informs her that she will have a daughter, and that daughter will be the one to right the mistakes caused by God. And then Charlotte starts to disappear in the maze, and then all of a sudden she feels like the source is being attacked. And I wrote, I feel like it means either an angel is coming or Lucifer is being attacked. I was wrong, by the way. No, her physical body is being attacked, because when she goes into the maze, it's like an astral projection kind of thing, and not like a physical body thing. And she comes back to her body, and she gets hit in the head by a branch, and it's 6 of the witches that are at school with her. I was like, they probably figured out by now that if they kill her, they kill Lucifer, because at this point we are most of the way through the book. That's how much little happens in this book. She fights some of them run away, and she lets the dead she lets the dead kill the rest of them, and just walks away. She summons the coven, because she is the covenant, and they have no choice but to answer the call, and she's heading toward the covenant room, and our angel douchebag appears again. She turns and stumbles into a body, and who is it? It's fucking Abon, who stabs her with the knife that is supposed to be locked in Lucifer's vault. And I put, I guess, Michael, in all caps, broke into that, and then Michael, all caps, chuckles, because he's a douche. Abon throws her down on the glass seal, which is where she released the demons from, and it is how they originally opened the portal to hell. And then he, like, falls on top of her body, and he twists the knife inside of her to make her bleed more, and she is slowly dying, and the portal starts to open. We jump into a great chapter. It's, like, 10 minutes prior to that happening. And he is in class teaching the witches about his bargain with Charlotte to explain where they get their magic from. And he starts to bleed from his abdomen. And he's like, oh my god, what the fuck? And Lev is like, bro, what is happening? And him and Beelzebub are going down the hallway. Because he's like, Lev, take care of this and we'll go take care of that. And he's really slow because he's bleeding and dying, kind of dying. She's dying. He can feel her dying and it's affecting him physically. And Beelzebub is like, where is she? I am fine. Where is she? And he's like, she's in the tribunal room. So Beelzebub undoes his wings and flies to the tribunal room because he can get there faster than Lucifer can. And back to a Willow chapter. And I wrote, oh my god, Michael has fucking Margot. Beelzebub's not going to save Willow because Margot is the love of his life. As she is laying there, dying, Abon, like, rubs her hair and calls her sweetheart. And I wrote, fuck off, Abon. Beelzebub appears and sees that Margot is captured. And Willow looks at him and she says, it's fine. And he goes to grab her and Michael, like, throws Margot into the pit. So she's falling into hell. And Beelzebub flies down after her. He does catch her. So before Gray gets there, after Beelzebub jumps into the pit to follow Margot, this is where we learn of Michael's plan, which is to open the pit of hell, throw the entire coven and Lucifer down there, and let her die, because then the seal would shut and it wouldn't be able to be opened again. So Jonathan comes flying into the room, and jumps through the air, and his cat form starts to become undone, and he, like, turns back into a person. So apparently him coming to rescue her finishes the magic or whatever. And he is about to, I was like, is he about to fulfill his blood curse right now? I was like, oh, he's returning back to his cursed form. Continue. Jonathan, in his cursed form, says, consort, and she says, save Margot. And he jumps into the pit after Beelzebub and Margot. Gray is like, Michael, sup, bitch? Adonis and Asmodeus come in, and Michael, like, while fighting with Gray, creates a tornado that captures them. And so they can't help, and she's like, I've made my choice. Gray is like, now, Willow! And she headbutts Abon from like, he's behind her, backwards headbutts him, because he's on top of her, and then she painfully yanks the bone knife out of her stomach and slices it across Abon's throat, because fuck that bitch. And she slides Abon's dying body through his own blood to trip Michael with his dying body. Super fucking cool. In my notes I wrote, I like that. I'd do that. She throws Abon into the pit because the seal needs a sacrifice. He explodes. The glass seals the thing off. Michael was over the seal, like, trying to stop her from throwing Abon in, and his fingers get cut off, which is really gross. I don't like that. But also it traps Jonathan, Margot, and Beelzebub in fucking hell. The coven finally arrives, and Gray is like, Leviathan, you need to deal with the witches. Here's what you're going to tell them. And he takes Willow back to his room because she needs to be cleaned up and she's covered in blood. And he feeds her his blood to heal her. And so then they bang in the shower. It's Willow's choice. And there are a lot of people who would criticize them for boning in the shower after she just almost died. But I get it. As a person who uses sex to work through big emotional things myself, I just lost my best friend. I just almost died. I am now healed. I'm going to want that closeness with the person that I care about. So I get it. A lot of people would be like, why are they boning right now? But, like, I get it. She is like, how the fuck are we going to get my best friend out of hell? And he's like, I have to train you how to access the source and let the source flow through you instead of taking your life. Because the source was the only thing keeping her alive, but it was still also slowly draining her life. So she's like, how long will that take? And he said, at best, months. Longest, it took me years to master the source. Later, he's like, hey, let's put you in this dress. And she's like, why am I wearing this dress? And he's like, because we're going to have a real witch wedding. You wanted to be married with the goddess. We're going to pledge ourselves before the goddess. And she's like, I don't want to do this. And he's like, you chose me, so now it's time to choose me. And I really fucking hate that. And he's like, just do it, bitch. And she's like, she starts thinking about their non-existent child that's going to exist. And she eventually agrees to marry him in her way. And he's like, I have a surprise for you. And in walks Juliet with Ash, which is really sweet. And, you know, her brother that she just kind of conveniently forgets to exist. So the goddess appears, you know, Lucifer's sister. They get gifts. Ta-da, they're married. Epilogue. Margot is watching Willow fight against the seal when it first shuts, because so the glass seals cuts off Michael's fingers and then stone. And because they're in a stone castle, essentially. And Willow was trying to fight through the glass after it sealed, after Michael got his fingers cut off. I'm really stuck on that thing. And Margot was, like, watching it happen. And so then Beelzebub holds her. She grabs Jonathan, and it's a very weird it's a very weird image now that I've had time to think about it, because Jonathan is like between her and Beelzebub, but Jonathan's not a cat anymore. He's a cursed again. He's like a big giant cursed. And Beelzebub just like holds them. And I'm like, in my brain, when I read this part, he was still a cat. But he's not a cat. He's not a cat anymore. Anyway, he flies them away. They go to Lucifer's castle. He continues to call her Songbird, which is his nickname for her. She thinks about when they met, and he gave her that nickname. And basically, the book ends. Okay, so here's the deal. Is the exploration of magic in this book cool? Yes. But overall, the writing was basic and subpar. She wrote Gray, aka Lucifer, like he was supposed to be morally great, but really he just did terrible shit and justified the way he treats Willow. He's manipulative and possessive, and not in a way that is good. Not in a way that matters. Morally gray men are okay. Morally black men are okay. But when you add in that manipulation aspect, that's not okay. It is not okay to treat someone you care about that way. Like, even in dark romances, they can be the most horrible person that does the most horrible things to other people. Even sometimes, and I'm not talking like bully romances, that's a completely different situation. But like, it can be the worst murderer on the face of the planet, but you know who he doesn't treat like shit? The love interest. They can have a dark sexual side where all kinds of kinks come in. Totally fine. Because kink dynamic is completely different than the way that you actually treat someone. Like, anyway, I put, overall, they don't manipulate their partners and they don't treat them the way Gray treats Willow. They just don't. She's a millennium younger than him, but he infantilizes her and treats her like a child, even though by human standards, she is an adult. And is that partially because she acts like a fucking child? Yes. Yes, it is. It's because she acts like a child, too. So if you're going to act childish and whiny, I'm going to treat you like a child, too. I'm just saying. This book had more things happen in it than The Coven did. There was a lot more stuff that actually happened. But the stakes still weren't that high. I didn't care enough about anybody to worry about them dying. I had feelings for Margot when she faced her abuser scene. That's the only time. It's the only time I care about anybody in this book. I was like, hell yeah, that's so good for you. It's a thing that I will probably never have. Because it's too traumatic for me to confront that person. But she got to, and it was glorious, and I loved it, and I was so there for her. Jonathan the cat was really the only person that I actually liked, and it's probably because I have a black cat who's also a dick, so I get it. But he's the only one I cared about, but I still wasn't upset when he got stuck in hell, because I just don't care. If you want a book that is going to make you feel things for the characters and make you care about what happens to them, this is not the book. You're not going to care about anybody. Anyways, that is all I have for today. I would rather not put myself through the torture of reading the third book because this book sets it up. There's obviously got to be another book because we've got to get everybody out of hell. I hope that you liked this video. Make sure that if you did like it, that you like and that you subscribe to the channel. And I will see you next time on Bookish Chaos. Bye.